Hi, today we're going to be an introductory module for mentor teaching. It's just to introduce you as to what mentor teaching is about and what we're going to be doing over the next 8 modules through the course of the next 8 weeks. My name is Leanne Fields. I'm a 5th grade teacher and mentor teacher at Central Middle School. Some of the outcomes that we have today are to know the roles, the responsibilities, and expectations. As a mentor teacher, what are you supposed to do for those teachers that we shelter and support? In St. Landry Parish, we've received a Rural Opportunities Grant that's going to support us, helping us to support those mentor teachers. We need to understand the mentoring cycle as we go through that cycle and what we're doing for that cycle. We need to go through the different attributes of what makes an effective mentor. And we need to develop an understanding of what competencies these teachers that are coming out of our university should be able to do and what they should be able to know in order to make an effective teacher. And then we also need to know the standards for each individual subject and the standards that go with the university's preparation for teachers. So today we're just going to have a program overview. We're going to have a rationale of what mentoring is about, the attributes, our roles and responsibilities, and the other things that we just discussed with our outcomes. In order to make this meeting meaningful, we're going to have a couple of agreements. We're going to establish some norms that are going to go from meeting to meeting so that we can be as effective as we need to be. The first one is we're going to make the learning meaningful. Nothing that we learn in these 8 modules, you're going to walk out going, when am I ever going to apply that? Everything you're going to be able to apply as your role as a mentor. We're going to engage mentally. We're going to get up and move around, not so much with this first module, but as we progress through the other modules, we will be getting up and seeing what some of these different activities are. We're going to notice opportunities to support the learning of others. If someone at your group doesn't understand something that was said, it's okay if you stop for a minute and kind of explain to them. Maybe you can explain it in a different way. But we're also going to see if we're just having casual conversations with sidebar conversations, those can interrupt the opportunity for others to learn. We're also going to take responsibility for our own learning. We all want to be here for one reason or another, and we're going to maximize our learning. We're going to own those outcomes, and we're going to expect the learning environment, including the use of technology. I know sometimes our kids call, we need to step out, that's fine. Just please put those phones away and let's keep that to a minimum. First thing that we're going to look at is our mentoring cycle. It starts here always in the diagnose, what does my mentee need? And you can see that in your handouts. And then from there we see what our mentee needs based on observations that we conduct within the classroom. We can use observational data such as test scores or the data that we collect from the classroom with our observations, and then we're going to set goals for our mentee to reach. Then it goes to coach. What do we need to do? We need to have those one-on-one debriefs after we conduct those observations, and that leads to those always fun, difficult conversations. We need to build relationships with our mentees. If they don't trust us, then nothing is going to be effective. And we need to always model best practices, to always be professional, to always be courteous, to always be on time and prompt, whatever we set up. And then also that can happen with co-teaching as well. After we diagnose what our mentee needs, after we go through the coaching phase, then we're going to measure progress. That's a time of reflection, a time to put in place some interventions, and then also to set new goals. And then the cycle starts all over again. Why mentor? Why do we have this process? In St. Landry Parish, like I said, we've got the Rural Communities Grant to shelter and support new teachers and their opportunities from here. What do I mean by that? We pull them out of the classroom for part of the day, and we give them shelter over them so that they don't have all the responsibilities that we had when we first started. It's kind of baptism by fire. And what we're seeing with data collected is that this is not the way to keep effective teachers. So it's a process in which we develop trust with this person, whether it is someone going through the university as a student teacher, if it's a first-year teacher, or even a veteran teacher. You have to develop trust with them, and then we take that personal and direct interest, because when they do well, it reflects back on us. And then when they also perform well, students perform well, and when students perform well, the school performs better. Some of the attributes that you have to have as a mentor are your beliefs. You need to figure out, what do you believe as a teacher and as a mentor? Your teaching experience needs to be, you don't have to have a lot of years teaching experience, but you do have to have higher observation scores and good classroom management. Your coaching skills, and we're going to work on that in one of the modules. Your relationship skills. Do you put people off? Do you know how to communicate effectively with them? Your content expertise. We're going to spend 4 modules on math, 3 modules on ELA to kind of up that content expertise that we have. And then, of course, we're probably all leaders within the school. You have to be able to have those leadership skills for those difficult conversations that are coming to play later. Some of the roles and responsibilities that we have are, of course, to mentor, to be a resource provider. If someone comes to you and says, I don't know where to get this information, we need to be able to instantly go, I don't know exactly where to get that from, but I know who to go talk to get that information for you. Which also plays into instructional specialists. We have to be able to provide those resources for our mentee. Curriculum specialist, data coach, classroom instructor, learning facilitator, of course, school teacher with those co-teaching experiences, a catalyst for change, and then also a learner. Is it possible for us to learn from our mentees? Absolutely. We provide emotional support for our teachers. So that they can gain confidence within the classroom, because all that does is going to boost scores for students, and then the school is going to increase as a result as well. We need knowledge, we need skills and practices. We need to understand the stages of teacher development. We need to be able to look at a teacher, to listen to that teacher's thoughts and concerns, to be able to diagnose what that teacher needs at that particular moment in time and adapt to that very quickly. And then we also need to match the support that we give with their needs. Of course, if they're having classroom behavior problems, you don't need to hand them the ELA guidebooks. You need to be able to put those two together so that your mentee can grow through the process. And then we're going to say it all throughout this module, building trusting relationships is so important. Some of the challenges that mentors face is balancing support while developing that capacity for your mentee. When do you tell them, no, I've given you this, it's time for you to go practice? When do you shelter them? When do you learn to let go? It's very difficult for some of us. Knowing when to give advice and when to kind of walk them through the decision-making process. And then supporting teachers to move across the curriculum. It's all difficult areas that we struggle with as teachers, and it's definitely a struggle with mentees. All right, let's talk about the teacher preparation competencies for just a moment. These competencies will define what a teacher candidate must know and be able to do before they graduate. This is what you will be judging your student teachers in. Any observations that you do need to go by these competencies. They're on Louisiana Believe website, and then the next module you'll get a handout for those as well. You can also go through those and kind of see what you do and what you can improve in as well. And then we have standards for professional learning. We're going to look at these in the next couple of modules to how do we apply these standards of professional learning to our role as a mentor and as a leader within the school system. And then why do we need standards? Why do we need standards in our curriculum? Why do we need standards in professional learning? Why do we need standards in mentor teaching? It's because those standards set the bar. They make the purpose for what we should develop the knowledge and skills for, so that we have some sort of goal as to what we should be able to do by the time we're done. They guide implementation and evaluation of all professional learning. Some of the assumptions that we make are that if we focus on educational learning, then professional learning, then that is linked to educator effectiveness. Now we know when we are effective educators, our student results are going to increase. And then that sets up the bar for both the student and you as a teacher to be very successful. And this is basically the same thing that the other chart showed. is that the standards are linked to knowledge, which is linked to change in practice, which is an increase in student results, and it's all on a continuum. The more we learn, the more we'll be able to impact our students in positive ways. And the same goes for all of these things that we're going to be learning through all 9 modules of the mentor teaching. The more we learn about our practice and why we're doing the things that we do, the more effective we'll be as teachers. For mentor teaching, our core concepts are the educator, of course, is the main person, and the effectiveness of the educator. Once our effectiveness increases, our results increase, and when our results increase, our students increase. All right, so let's just review a little bit of what we talked about in Module 1. Module 1 is incredibly short. It's intended to be short, just to give you an overview of everything that's going on, to let you kind of process before we dig deep next week into Module 2. That we have a variety of roles and a variety of responsibilities. The book that I gave you when you first walked in the door breaks down all of those roles, and as we go through the next 9 modules, we'll look at all of those and examine them and see what is involved with those. We talked about the attributes of effective mentor teachers. We talked about the mentoring cycle, the preparation competencies, and the standards of professional learning. Before next week, I want you to take a self-assessment. I want you to first review the general and content-specific teacher preparation competencies in your book that you have. Then I want you to go through and code which one of those, if you do it well, you do it all the time, you know that you do it, put a 3 beside it. You do it sometime, but you could really improve in it, put a 2. And if you don't do it at all, or you know you should be doing it, but you don't do it, put a 1. And we're going to talk about those later. And then be prepared to discuss the questions on page 18 of your book. Next week when we come in, we're going to be here a little longer, about an hour and a half. And we're going to be discussing our coaching classroom management, why you do the things that you do, because you can't really discuss anything unless you know why you're doing it. What are your stances on coaching? What are your stances on classroom management? You need to know that as well. Communication skills. How do you effectively tell someone either the easy conversations or those more difficult conversations as well? And then planning those conversations.